Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, what do we have in store? Because we have some really interesting ground to cover. So, without further ado, shall we plunge in? Sally P says, Lady C, do you think that Meghan's had a facelift? Do I think the Pope's Catholic? Do I think the chief rabbi's Jewish? Do I think Ayatollah Khomeini is an imam? The signs are very clear. Her earlobe no longer is as it used to be. She is stretched like a cadaver. Her forehead is no longer quite where it was. The nose has been refined yet again. She better be careful that she doesn't end up like Michael Jackson. The top lip is more plumped out. Do I think she's had a facelift? Yes, I do. I mentioned it some time ago. And yes, I do. I hope that answers the question. I also think that Meghan's making the mistake that a lot of women make. They tinker and tinker and tinker, and all of a sudden, what they think is an improvement, they go overboard, and the last little thing just tips the scales, and pow, they're no longer good looking. Now, Meghan was never a great beauty, but she was attractive. And she is becoming less and less attractive with the passage of time. To what extent that is that once you know what she is, you're turned off by her. I think there's that element. There's also the element that she tries too hard. But recently, she's been looking as good as it's possible for her to look. At the New York thing, she looked as good as it's possible for her to look, facially and in terms of attire and in terms of the clothes fitting and her figure. The hair was a disaster, but putting that aside, everything else was fine. Except, of course, that again, Meghan, yet again, flies in the face of convention in what she regards is an eye-catching and attention-grabbing way. She wore that trouser suit with the plunging neckline and no camisole under it. Okay, she has nothing to show. And so she was never going to be immodest because she has nothing to show. She has less cleavage than I do, and I don't have that much. Sorry. But, I mean, she has even less than I do, so poor thing. I mean, I may not have 2 fried eggs on a very hot sidewalk, which she does, but neither of us is going to win the embonpoint of the century award. Let's put it that way. But she's losing her looks. She's losing her looks. I'll tell you also what is helping to make her lose her looks is, aside from the bad facelift, there is the fact that her makeup is wrong for her. Meghan doesn't have naturally good features. She doesn't have nice eyes. I mean, I'm not speaking about the fact that they're Charles Manson when you look at the person behind the eyes. I'm just speaking about the eyes themselves. They are mismatched. One is slightly cast. She doesn't have nice eyes. Her nose is dreadful. The mouth is not that good. Uh, Especially as how it's like tarpaulin stretched over Barracuda's teeth. And I mean, the teeth are just too prominent. The shape of the face is not good either, because her face is too bulky down here. It should be more refined. It's not. It's very bulky down here, and she's always also. I can't do it, so I won't even try. Where all of this works over time. So she's really not particularly good looking, but when with the right makeup and the right presentation, she is attractive, or used to be. I mean, she still is. If you can bear to look at her knowing what she's like. But bad facelift. Let's leave it at that. Poor Megsy baby, one tail left eye. And the cat says, "Hello, Lady C and fur babies from North Texas." Hello, and the cat. "I can well understand that Prince William questions if Harry ever really loved him or anyone else in the family. I was married to someone with a similar personality disorder for 29 years. At the end of my marriage, I can tell you I came to the conclusion that if someone is knowingly so awful to you without any remorse, there was no real love to begin with. My belief is no amount of therapy, drugs can help these people understand love. I feel sorry for the two children. Do you think Meghan Markle's original family believe she never really loved them?" Very good question. I rang up Samantha and asked her in terms of herself, her brother Tom, and their father. I was not going to ask Thomas Markle Sr. because I know the answer. I've lived through this with my grandmother and my mother. My grandmother could never come to terms with the fact that she had produced a monster. And she, even as she was dying, she refused to believe that Mummy was the cold, calculating, callous cow that she really was. And I have spoken to Thomas Markle Sr. enough to know that he and my grandmother share the difficulty of beyond accepting the fact that their daughter is something that they never knew she could possibly be, and basically it breaks their heart. They don't want to, or maybe just can't, go that extra mile and to say this is somebody who is poisonous. I understand it because a parent, it's very difficult for a parent to actually realize, unless of course there's something wrong with the parent, that their child is a monster. Samantha and Thomas Jr., she says both of them have no difficulty in accepting the fact that Meghan never loved them and that she didn't love their father either. Samantha said that when she looks back on it, Meghan, even as a little girl, was always very transactional. And Meghan was, of course, she was often heavily influenced by her mother. but she never ever had generosity of spirit with any of them. I'm using my words, not hers. I'm translating what she said uh, because I'm more comfortable using my words than hers. But the thought is the same. Uh, she says that Meghan never really showed vulnerability, nor did she ever really reciprocate any advances of love. In other words, she was a born taker. She would take, and she wasn't really going to be giving, but she'd take. And if she wanted something, she'd turn on the charm tap. But otherwise, she was cold. I mean, what came across is that Meghan has always been cold, calculating, and callous, even as a little girl. Oh, and she says that on the few occasions that Meghan actually initiated any sort of, camaraderie, let's put it that way, it was always for her to boast or to say, I'm better than you. I mean, Samantha used an example, one or two examples, for instance, when she was on Deal or No Deal, how she phoned up Samantha, really to crow. Look at what I've got. Now, I mean, you could say, well, that's normal because the younger sister wants the older sister to give her approbation. But Samantha says there was a slightly, when she looks back on it, she didn't think it at the time, but when she looks back on it, it always was a little bit dodgy and shady. She says also when she was in Buenos Aires for 5 weeks, her father paid for her internship. She didn't work or live in Buenos Aires ever. She said she phoned her up and was really boasting about the fabulous appointment of the place and, the splendor of it and da 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 da. She does say there was only one occasion upon which Meghan ever displayed anything approaching vulnerability, when she was depressed and Samantha was speaking to her on the phone, and Samantha said to her, because she'd been by then studying psychology, uh, are your curtains open or shut? They're shut. She said, open them. You need light. When you're depressed, you need light. Open them and go for a walk and get yourself going. You will feel better. And she told her to open the blinds to let in the light and go for a walk. And she did. And later that day, they spoke again. And she said that she felt better. But she said otherwise it was Meghan saying, babe, I'm in this fabulous situation and you're not. I mean, that was basic. Competitive. But Samantha says she wrote off Meghan's really coldness and lack of making approaches to her being busy or young, or she always found an excuse for it. But looking back on it, the pattern started when she was young. She now sees that Meghan was basically always cold and disinterested in everybody and everything except what she wanted when she wanted it, and she could turn on the charm tap as and when it suited her to do so, to extract something out of you. So, to answer the question in a sentence, she doesn't think that Meghan ever loved any of them. including her father. She thinks Meghan was really always using their father, and when she no longer had any use for him, she simply discarded him. That's very dark triad, and Meghan displays all the characteristics of a dark triad. I'm sorry, I cannot excuse a daughter cutting out her father for anything, especially something as trivial as falling into the trap that she, according to her father and sister, set up with Jeff Rayner so that she would have an excuse to not have him at the wedding. And I suspect, actually, to never have anything to do with him again. I think she set up the whole thing not only to prevent him from coming to the wedding, but to deny him access and Harry access to him ad infinitum. That is serious coldness. And you know, a friend of mine said to me the other day, she said, Meghan's really played it all very stupidly, because if she'd been clever, she'd have kissed and made up with her father, even if she didn't want to. But has she done it? No. And I can speak as somebody whose father tried to get her to commit suicide, and I still spoke to my father. Honour thy father and thy mother, that thy days on this earth may be long. It is a God-given relationship. You are obliged to honour it. You don't have to like the person. You don't even have to respect the person. But you certainly have to show respect to the relationship. And you have to endow the person with the respect that the relationship deserves. And also, if you can find it in yourself to love and to forgive, and we are all human and we all make mistakes. I mean, if I could forgive my father when he spent years when I was a teenager trying to get me to commit suicide, and I forgave him, why wouldn't Meghan forgive her father for falling into the trap that Jeff Rayner, evidently in cahoots with Meghan, set for her poor father? I just make that point for what it's worth. Elona Malter says, hello, Lady C. Love your show with its breadth of story with sophistication and beauty. Thank you very much. I first happened upon it by accident and was hooked a couple of years ago when you compared Meghan to a lead horse. Your show today describing her compulsive competitiveness was spot on. She set her sights on being the most famous woman alive. Unfortunately, she's not beautiful enough for that. Princess Catherine's glorious bones outshone Meghan's large mandible face. Brilliant description, incidentally. Mandible, absolutely right. Those jaws chewing at all times. Crunching, grinding, suppressing. Let me continue. Meghan therefore has to settle for infamous. She has written herself a drama wherein she is the most interesting character, the villain. Anything goes. Elona Malter, what you say is very interesting. Did Meghan seriously set out, and this is a thought that has never occurred to me before, did Meghan seriously set out to be the most famous woman on earth, knowing that the way to do it was to make herself roundly disliked. I have always assumed that Meghan wanted admiration and adoration, but maybe, and I'm now referring back to my mother as well, because my mother wanted adoration and admiration, but looking back on it, she wanted attention more than anything else. And she used to enjoy the raw exercise of power. She used to enjoy being, well, she used to say, I'm the biggest bitch you'll ever meet and you better learn it. And she was right. So, did my mother set out to be loathsome? The answer has got to be, with hindsight, yes. And has Meghan set out to be loathsome? And I'm actually, Ilona Malter, beginning to wonder if you haven't hit the nail on the head in a way that nobody before has hit the nail on the head. Doubtless, once we introduce this as a viable alternative, it's only a matter of time before Rebecca English and Richard Eden and all of those others discover, actually they're not going to, because they're too busy hedging their bets. So I think we're safe here. I think with hindsight, we're safe. Yeah. Certainly on reflection. It really isn't hindsight, it's reflection. We're safe. But she has written a drama wherein she is the most interesting character. And she is the villain. And a villain is always a more interesting character for an actress to play than a goody two-shoes. Always. It's well known, and Meghan is an actress. I think you're onto something. I don't know what the rest of you think, but I would love to hear your opinions. Because you see, if that has always been Meghan's objective, and certainly her objective has been, she made no bones about it, she wanted to be the most famous woman on earth. She wanted to have the largest, I forget what it was, Instagram or something like that. She wanted to break the internet. She wanted to make a load of money. And then she ultimately wanted to be president of the United States. And now evidently Queen of the United Kingdom. So maybe she's going to be President, Her Majesty, Queen Meghan of the United States and the United Kingdom unified. Oh, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. I've united the United States and the United Kingdom. Don't you think we should call it Meghanland? Or what else should we call it? The United Kingdom of the United States and the United Kingdom. Let's just settle for Meghanland, shall we? Much better. President Queen Meghan of Meghanland. Oh, Mr. DeMille. I'm so grateful for this award. Oh, I'm a cougar. I'm a panther. I'm certainly a big cat. And I love sweet meat. And actually, if one stops to think about it for 2 seconds, not only is being the villain a more interesting role, and it gives wider scope for, shall we say, self-indulgence. But also, if you are a narcissistic personality with antisocial tendencies, and you are Machiavellian, and you are, as Meghan has clearly shown herself to be, the director, the producer, the star, the writer, the creator. I mean, it is an egotist's dream to be able to always be the star of the show. I mean, look at the way she left the Plaza Athénée. I mean, she was practically coming as she came towards the cameras. She was practically coming. I mean, she was just so in love with myself. But later on, she's then doing such awful things as driving from past the Pont Alexandre towards the Pont de l'Alma, and where Diana lost her life. And she's cocking up her feet, her dirty feet, with her dirty shoes on a leather seat. I mean, you're right. Anything goes. I mean, let's take it off, Meghan, and put it onto parallel possibilities or comparisons or situations, however you want to put it. I mean, can you imagine if Ted Bundy had been able to just go through life just marauding and not having to pretend when he knew there would be no consequences? And, he would have still been hail fellow, well met, and Mr. Charm, because that's the game, you see. The game is to entice. A predator will entice before it devours. So it's, Mr. DeMille, I'm such a wonderful person. I deserve that award. I really do, Mr. DeMille. I mean, I'm a great humanitarian. I'm just so wonderful, Mr. DeMille. I mean, I've got to be the most wonderful person on earth. And then in the next breath, flick around. And we see it with Meghan. The sudden changes of personality, the dropping of the mask. You know, 1 minute she's beatific and smiling, and the next, the Charles Manson eyes. I don't think I can do them. The Charles Manson eyes pop out, and the jaw, and that definitely can't do that either. The jaw sort of just goes, the mandibles, or the mastication. But if you're good, you have parameters. When you are totally self-indulgent and you don't care whether you are being good or bad, and actually, let's remember, Meghan has said that she is She-Ra, the rebel princess, and she has made it clear in the past, in word as well as deed, that she does not feel constrained by the ordinary rules that govern ordinary human behavior. That is the mark of somebody who has no scruples. But Harry said it. He said Meghan's capable of anything. And she's certainly shown us that she's capable of anything. So maybe actually we've got it wrong, and we've always had it wrong, because she set out to be noticed. That's what she set out to be, noticed. And having got to being a member of the royal family, that behaving well, or certainly behaving sufficiently acceptably well when it suited her, that she made the transition from ordinary, really not even particularly attractive hustler in Hollywood to royal princess. And at that point, she's able to indulge the monster that she truly is, which is what my mother did. I used to say, Mummy enjoys the raw exercise of power. My mother in her 20s and 30s was utterly charming. And at some point, actually, it coincided with not only becoming a very well-established society figure and having a reputation for beauty and glamour, but starting to lose the beauty. But also, she got in the habit of enjoying power and enjoying humiliating people. I mean, when you are power crazed, inevitably the relationships around you have to suffer. My therapist Basil Panzer used to say, any relationship that is based upon power is a bad relationship. And Mummy used to enjoy wielding power with everyone. And Meghan, it is quite apparent, does the same thing. But it never occurred to me, and I'm going to repeat this again because I think Ilona Malter has really hit the nail on the head, that Meghan has maybe set out to be as offensive as possible, because she is flexing her muscles. She is enjoying wielding power. She is showing us, and she is showing herself, that she is not constrained by ordinary human values, that she can do anything she wants. And if you can do anything you want and you are into the raw exercise of power, you're not going to be doing goody two-shoes things, because that would be to become a saint. You're going to be doing awful things. You're going to be creating havoc. You're not going to be constructive. You're going to be destructive. And yes, anything goes. And anything has been going. And I think Ilona Malter has hit the nail on the head to such an extent that I would say that Meghan is an absolute example of somebody who is power crazed and determined to enjoy being infamous, because it can't be done with fame. And anybody who tries it ultimately ends up sullying their reputation. Elizabeth Taylor sullied hers, retrieved it towards the end of her life, but for a while she sullied it. Diana sullied hers. Meghan has destroyed hers. Now, had she been able to behave as Catherine behaves, I don't agree with Ilona Malter. I don't think that because Meghan is not as naturally good looking as Catherine, that Meghan would have lost that race. I think Meghan would have won it because, presuming that she was not as destructive as she has turned out to be, and had she just been able to contain the monster within that she has given full rein to since she, in fact, because she started to indulge in before she entered the royal family, because she was giving indications of monstrous behavior before the wedding. So it started before, but it started when she felt that she had Harry safely in the bag and the marriage was inevitable. But had she been able to maintain the illusion that she had practiced up until then, and she would have been, even though she clearly was always a monster, in my view, and the view of others who know her well, that she had, but she was sufficiently disciplined and adroit, actually, as to be able to keep the monster hidden. She would, in my opinion, have become even more popular than Catherine, because her identity as a woman of color, an American, or somebody who had a more checkered past than Catherine's, would all have worked in her favor. So I do not think that looks and good looks alone are the deciding factor. In much the same way that in the early days of the York marriage, Sarah York was actually more popular than Diana. It's when Sarah York became so much more popular than Diana that Diana decided to, it's all there in my books. Diana, not down in private, in royal, it might be down in private as well. I mean, they're written so long ago, I don't remember, but it certainly would be in the Real Diana, where Diana decided, I don't like this, I'm going to knock her off her perch, and proceeded to do so. And Sarah was never as good looking as Diana. So I don't think good looks are the only deciding factor. And let us not forget as well that when Meghan came on the scene, admittedly, Catherine was absorbed with motherhood, but Catherine didn't have the oomph that she now has. She occasionally did, but she was slightly more sedate and slightly more conventionally demure. Meghan's appearance on the scene actually encouraged Catherine to up her game. That's a fact. So, and we will end with what Lilo Fee says. It's her demand to be the focus that is problematic. If you don't want to love me, then hate me. Either way, I get attention. Yeah, that's it. We are actually arriving at a consensus. With Meghan, it's about attention and money. It is about coinage, whether it is monetary coinage or attention. It's all about coinage. And it's interesting that we are gradually coming to the conclusion, as a result of Meghan's behavior and the insights of people such as Ilona Malter and Lilo Fee. Yeah. She is so intent on always being the center of attention. And I saw that with my mother as well. I mean, she would walk into a room and she would suck the oxygen out of it. It had to be all about her. And with Meghan, it's the same thing. It has to be about her. People like that usually end up badly. My father, when he died, there wasn't even standing room in the church. My mother, when she died, I think if there were 7 or 8 of us, there were plenty. Interesting. She dominated, but people couldn't wait to get away. But people like that are fascinating because they demand attention and they command attention. And there is a ghoulish fascination with people like that, but they always end up badly. At least that's my impression. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope you have found this interesting. Please let me know what you think, because I think this is an area worth exploring. What do you think? And remember, anything you want to address, please do so in the comment section. Thank you so much. Godspeed. And please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed. Bye-bye.
Blood on the hat.